Yeah, Barnes. How many? You could have answered this earlier. How many kids do you have?
5.
You got 5 kids.
Yeah, I got 4 girls and 1 boy.
Okay. One of the things that I really want to talk to you about is your plight now. What it is that you're doing and what's been your mission for the last 11 and a half years. So I want to segue this interview if it's cool with you, okay?
Yeah, it's cool.
Your son, Kevin. I know you got 5 kids, but I want to zone in on him. Firstborn child, correct?
Correct.
What type of father was you to him?
Honestly speaking, I wasn't a father to him. You know what I'm saying? I was what you would call, I was a dad to him, but I wasn't a father to him. You know what I'm saying? Or it might be vice versa. I was a dad to him and I wasn't a father. So to me, a dad is a person who is a sperm donor. You know what I'm saying? So I was basically a sperm donor. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't a father. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I went to jail when he was 6 months. So it's no way possible you can write, you can say different things, they can visit you, but you're not fathering your child. You know what I'm saying? So as far as being a father, I went away the first time when I came home, he was 4. I went away the second time. When I came home, he was 16. You know what I'm saying? So now when I try to be that father, it's like, what you here now for? You know what I'm saying? But the street raised him. And when I say the street raised him, that means he heard every story about his father without knowing his father. You see what I'm saying? He never heard it out of my mouth. We never sat down and talked about it. So he grew up emulating what a lot of dudes were saying. Oh yeah, your father used to be down with Rich. Yo, your father and them was down with Poe. Yeah, your father was with Puff. Da, da, da. This is the story that he hears. But he's never had that really loving conversation with me as a father. So I say I wasn't no father. I was worrying about, you know, so many of us worry about how we gonna look. And in reality, I was worried about how I looked each and every day. The clothes that I wore, the cars that I drove, and the only thing that I did was just drop some money off with his mother. Because I didn't realize that when you become a parent, that means that you give up your life for your child life. I didn't understand that because I was only 19 when I had the child. So I'm still thinking, I got my mother, I got my family, I can still go there. I'm not expected to take care of nothing. So that's the type of father I was. And that's how he grew up.
What type of kid was he?
He was a great kid, man. And I think that's another reason I didn't see the warning signs. Because I always did do for him. He had a great mother that did for him. He had a great that side of a family. So he went to Rice High School. You know what I'm saying? With Sebastian Telfair and all of them. He went to Mary Burcham. You know what I'm saying? He graduated from Mary Burcham in Brooklyn, as a matter of fact. And he graduated with a scholarship for basketball. You know what I'm saying? He went to Kenny Smith basketball camps. And Kenny Smith told him himself, he said, yo, he bust Sebastian Telfair and them ass. He said, but Barnes, he got one problem. I said, what? He said, he plays the ref too much. He got an attitude problem. And that's going to stop him. So it stopped him from getting a 4-year scholarship, but it didn't stop him from getting a 1-year scholarship to the same school Lamar Odom went to. It's in Albany. And what they do is they get you ready to go to the D1 school the next year. But during that year, he got into 3 different fights and they kicked him out of there. And even then, when he came back to go to college in New York, you had LIU, Long Island University, was trying to recruit him and everything. And he was like, Dad, that's not a D1 or a D2. That's a D3. I'm not playing for them. But I used to try to tell him, it's not about basketball no more. It's about the education now. We could get a free education. But you got to remember, this is somebody now who's done all these things and accomplished all these things coming from the street, trying to tell you at this age what's right and wrong. And he basically didn't take it the way a child would if his father was with him all his life. So he ignored those calls.
Speaking of being with him all his life, I'm just looking at the timeline of his life. You know, the first few years of his life, you're locked up on the body. Come home, go back in, you're locked up in the feds. You come home, start changing your life around, and you get hooked up with Puff. Both me and you know that ain't a 9 to 5.
Not
You
at
know,
all.
Puff didn't become who he became because he went to work at 9 and got off at 5. We was literally working. I mean, an 18-hour day was considered a short day. That was considered normal. 20-hour days was the norm.
Right.
So even when you came home, I gotta believe you wasn't spending a lot of time with this young man.
At all.
Like, when was you making time to even see him and form that bond with him?
It wasn't no bond there. And when it came to the point, I didn't realize the things that was damaging, because on the forefront, we think as long as we got money, everything else is okay. And
Problem solved.
it's not that way. But you feel like as long as I could take him this, as long as I could buy him this, yo, I sent your mother that, it's cool. But you're not seeing mentally. I didn't see mentally where my son was. It wasn't until after he was incarcerated here that I found out that he was trying to live my life all over again. And it wasn't until then where people even told me, yo, Bonds, I ain't know Kev was your son. It's people that still walk up to me now, yo, I ain't know Kev was your son. Oh, yeah, Kev used to always, yo, his nickname is Schoolboy. And yo, I knew my son was getting all A's and everything, but what we didn't know was that when my son came home, he took off his shirt, he took off his tie, he changed it to these different other clothes, and he was outside trying to live his father life. And so many people tell me that it's not until now where I really get to talk to him where I hear these things from him. So even though I wasn't in his life every day, he wanted me in his life every day. So he made himself me. And he watched everything that I did, everything that he heard. Whenever I was on the news, whenever I was in the paper, whenever a picture of me and Puff came up, he had every single thing. So if I would have knew that, then I would have knew that he was headed towards doing something or being involved in something that he had no business being involved with.